frontier.
Welcome to Wrestling Daft the Marks, and it's Wrestling Daft the Marks in your house, or in our house, as it would go. I'm John, producer of Wrestling Daft, and I'm currently wearing my brand new Cesaro Wrestling Purist t-shirt and sporting a pair of Star Wars leisure pants. And if a child does run it in during the broadcast, I apologise, because we're all in our house this week. In front of me, I can see a man sitting there who's bigger than the queues to get into Tesco at 9:30am. It's Alex.
Good afternoon, John. How are we?
Very well, sir. Good to hear your voice.
I like the way you're lying to the audience and telling them that you're actually wearing trousers, because I'm definitely fucking not.
And what are you t-shirt are you sporting today, Alex?
I have my Ultimo Dragon gym t-shirt on that I picked up in Japan because I'm a filthy mark who goes to the filthy marky wrestling.
Of course you are. And what can we expect? Any distractions from your end? I expect children to run in the room at some point. What about you?
So far, you may get an ass of a cat on the webcam screen, as she seems to be quite good at hearing webcams and just deciding to appear and walk all over the keyboard. But so far, I don't think she's in the room, so we should be okay.
Fine. I know if you would have heard in the background, there's a man who drops wrestlers' names more than R-Truth drops the 24/7 title. It's Scotland's premier wrestling journal, Gary Cassidy.
Thank you. How's it going?
Very well, my friend. Very well. And who are you wearing today, Gary?
Well, I actually just got a Wolfgang t-shirt through in the post, but I'm saving that for slightly better times. So I'm wearing an Ilya Dragunov t-shirt today.
Beautiful. That you two are marking out. I mean, I've got my Cesaro. I went for the basic, WWE Euro shop. You two have to just go that one bit more, don't you?
We appreciate the finer things, John.
Yeah, you bloody bunch of marks, you. So we're on lockdown like everyone else, but like everyone else, we're determined to keep the content going and keep Wrestling Daft coming to your ears. So we're not in the studio, and like you guys, we're all a bit bored out of our tits, aren't we? So
definitely. Yeah,
exactly. So basically, I can't speak about the current booking of Daniel Bryan to my wife. So I basically need to chat to you two every week to get it off my chest. So here we are.
Well, I have to stop. Since there is all this extra time, surely that's more time to watch wrestling. So personally, I've discovered Vice's new documentary series this week called Dark Side of the Ring. And they've just started season 2. And so season 2, episode 1 has been on Chris Benoit.
Ooh.
And he's portrayed by a clickbait here, former WWE superstar. The guy from the Cruiserweight Classic, Tyson Do, I don't know how you pronounce it, but he portrays him in it. Yeah. But it was in round 1 of the Cruiserweight Classic and then get put out.
Well, they've approached it very well so far. So they've mainly, part 1's been all about like up until the incident, let's call it, for lack of a better word. But they've had like Vicky Guerrero on it, they've had Chris Jericho on it, they've had Chavo Guerrero on it, because obviously Chris and Eddie were really close. So it's been quite good to hear kind of a career retrospective of him without everyone mentioning the incident. But
the incident, as we'll say.
But no, I think it's been good. I'd recommend everyone give it a watch, actually.
Yeah, so there's loads of wrestling out there. If you've got the network, obviously, in these times of lockdown, which does sound like it was a pay-per-view lockdown, wasn't it?
It's a TNA one, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it does sound like an absolute pay-per-view. So in these times of lockdown, why not just get stuck into the network and you can discover loads of new stuff out there?
And it's free right now as well. They've put a free tier in for the network in the past 24 hours. So they've added a load of WrestleManias and stuff. Yeah. So I think the obvious free month that everyone gets anyway, they've actually got a free tier now, which is pretty cool.
Well, you can't get mince or bog roll, but you can get free wrestling here at WWE. Thank you, Sir Vince. Getting back onto the coronavirus, before moving on, a big thanks to everyone who got involved last week. Remember, boys, how we were asking for what wrestler's theme tune do you wash your hands to?
Yep.
Alex, you went for, what was it, Right to Censor?
Right to Censor was my second. Personally, I'm still putting that over.
Right, okay. Lots of people getting involved. Thanks for everyone that got involved. Chris Grants went for Judas from Jericho, obviously.
I'll just listen to that anytime. Any excuse to listen to that song is good for me.
As long as it's not Sammy Guevara singing it, we'll be okay.
We'll get onto that later on. Wally Bones went for Man's Man from William Regal.
Yep.
Decent. I love, most of them have done, these diagrams that you see as well with the washing hands, and they've done the actual lyrics along to the washing hands thing. So I love this. Hazy's went for I'm an Ass Man from Billy Gunn. Albies went for the Honky Tonk Man. Another winger has went for the Demolition theme. Oh, it's a cracker, that one. Our man Div Grimison, who obviously music extraordinaire, we should really listen to what he's going for. The Lex Express, I'll be your hero. And Pablo Volta Horror has agreed with you, Alex, right to censor, or Shawn Michaels, sexy boy, but replacing the word sexy with clean.
See, surely it should be Dirty Boy. I think Dirty Boy's got a bit more ring to it than Clean Boy.
So thanks very much for everyone that get involved. Before we get on to the rest of the show, let's talk a wee bit more about Mania. Obviously, since we last spoke on this show, we were all speculating it was going to be at Madison Square Gardens, potentially a rumour, but that looks like that's a lot of rubbish now, and it looks like we're charging on with 2 nights at the Performance Centre. Thoughts?
Not just the Performance Centre. So I got a wee, after it was confirmed as being 2 days, I got a little message in my, weirdly, Twitter DM from a WWE spokesperson to say it would be emanating from multiple locations, but they would not say any more than that. I think we can take for last night's Raw that there's going to be a match outside of the Performance Centre from AJ Styles and Undertaker, but there's also a lot of rumours that Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley is going to take place for an empty Full Sail, and also that Cena and Wyatt are going to have a gimmick match as well.
Absolutely. We'll get into that later on the news, but what do you reckon about 2 days of WrestleMania, Alex?
I think so far the way they've been splitting the card looks pretty good. I think I texted you all when I saw what they'd put into for night 1 and night 2, and so far everything I want to see is on night 1, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Apart from Edge Orton, which hasn't been confirmed yet, the night 1 card looks so much better because you've got your Drew match on you, you've got the Ripley Charlotte match on there. But I'm all for it. If they want to go and do these pre-tape segments, people have been moaning about them, but I think it'll make for a better show. And for the Undertaker AJ match especially, you can just edit the hell out of it and make Taker look amazing.
Gary, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. My one hope is, obviously there's minimal chance of it leaking anyway since it is a closed set, but I'd quite like it if they recorded alternate endings to each of them, not least because in a couple of years for the WWE Network it would make some pretty cool documentaries. But no, I'm looking forward to it. The one thing I think you said it last week, John, where it's like they probably shouldn't add any more matches. They've kind of went and added a load more matches, so we'll see how much it gets stale or not. But I'm excited.
Again, we'll get into that in the news. Loads to talk about on WrestleMania. We'll get into that in the news later on. But on the show also today, we'll be looking back at the week in wrestling. We'll be burying and putting over stuff from all the shows this week, and we're going to welcome one of our fellow marks on the show, Paul Vivey. God bless his soul. Gary, you'll have all that news that we're going to talk about. So much to talk about from the business at the moment. We're going to take a trip to Fantasy Booking Island, and Gary, you're on the boat this week. What you thinking?
Oh yeah, I'm doing a long-term booking for Mr. Drew McIntyre, starting off with him not winning the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. So we'll see how many people absolutely hate me after that.
Oh,
I love a bit of controversy on Fantasy Booking Island.
Listen, we want to retain listeners here, Gary Cassidy. Last week you went a tirade against the fans, and now you're about to do one on Drew. Jesus. One of the most promising wrestlers in the UK, a Mr. Leyton Buzzard, will be on the 10 Count and telling us all about his favourite things in wrestling. So every week we look at the good and the bad from the big wrestling shows, and a feature we do called Bury or Put Over. 2 buddies from each shows, 2 put overs from each shows, and a match of the night. And this week we're joined by one of our Wrestling Daft patrons and fellow Mark. Welcome to the show, Paul Fivey.
Hello, how are you?
Great to have you on board, mate. Via Skype as well in this world of social distancing.
Yep, absolutely. Completely arm's length here. 2 meters, definitely.
Paul, before we get into it, you must find out what your wrestling credentials are before you get you on this show. What are they?
I suppose the thing I could probably say most about my wrestling credentials is I'm the one that introduced Grado to Michelle McManus.
Wow.
I was.
You're
I was
man in Grado's life then.
I'm the one who set up the whole thing with Michelle doing his theme tune at the first Shug's house party. For ICW.
Really?
Hey,
How did that?
yeah.
How did that come about? How did that come about?
Michelle was good friends with my wife, and always
Paul?
sort of and tried to sort of make out that she was a big wrestling fan for a while, and it's like, yeah, I'm not sure if I believe you. So I showed her a bit of ICW and particularly Grado, and I was like, two of you could be quite good together because it's the same sort of background, same sort of appeal, I think. And I just sort of said, why don't you, would you not mind sort of doing a WrestleMania style thing and sing his theme tune, go to the ring? And she sort of looked at me and I suppose. And so I just reached out to Grado on Twitter and set it up.
Brilliant.
That's going to take some beating, by the way.
I know. But he's got better credentials than any of us.
So, John, next week you're going to be replaced as the host, all right?
So unfortunately, Paul, as the guest mark, you've been landed with SmackDown, but we'll get to you in a minute. Let's kick off with the Wednesday Night Wars. And Alex, you had an absolute belter with this week's AEW.
I think I was the only one who's going to have anything interesting to talk about really here, aren't I? So it was their first empty arena show, and unlike WWE, they actually went to an arena instead of just a performance center and managed to shoehorn a little bit of atmosphere in there by having like a couple of the wrestlers just hang around the ring. So you had like MJF and Sean Spears just standing there gambling on the matches. You had a little spot between Colt Cabana and who was it again? And somebody. And you even had Sammy Guevara singing Chris Jericho's entrance. So they could have made up for the crowd in their own little way. But so I'm gonna start by putting over something that is not the Dark Order, because that's what everyone assumed everyone was going to put over this week. I'm going to put over the Jake the Snake Roberts and Lance Archer vignette because I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was cool.
Like, because we're now in the world of social distancing, we've all had plenty of time to consume podcasts. So I think Matt Hardy was saying it was Chris Jericho who was saying on his podcast that they filmed that at Darby Allin's house. So why Darby has quite such a house in that array, I'm not quite sure. But I thought they produced that really well. And the vignette's been a bit of a lost art in wrestling recently.
Yeah.
Can't remember the last time someone was introduced through one, and I just thought it was kind of spot on. And the other thing I'm going to put over is the debut of Vanguard 1. Only allowed because there was no one there, or else the drone wouldn't have been allowed in. So yeah, it's kind of a 2-for-1. And surprisingly, I'm going to do the old flip-flop and bury part of that. So I'm actually going to bury the fact that I didn't really like Matt Hardy's debut. I just don't see.
Yeah,
sorry.
I get that totally.
Like, I like the whole drone bit, I like the suspense, but I don't understand why they didn't let him talk.
Yeah, I totally get that. I felt it was really awkward, and the camera stood on him, remained on him too long there at the end as well. There's only so much facials the boy can do.
Yeah, exactly. And I know he's been talking a lot in Free the Delete and stuff, but he could have surely recycled some of that, and they could have given him a mic or something like that. But yeah. I did like the booking that led up to him, and I liked the way they managed to kind of swerve everyone a little bit who assumed it would be Matt.
Yeah. And what else are you burying?
I'm going to go back to the AEW backroom staff, and I'm going to bury Brody Lee's fucking tailor, because it's... Right, let's break it down. First of all, that white jacket was just horrible, and it just doesn't suit the Dark Order at all. Then he takes it off, and he has perhaps the single worst pair of wrestling trousers I've ever seen a man wear. Like, the things were so baggy he couldn't even move around properly. It just looked weird. So somebody, please, go and sort that
out. Match of the night.
Match of the night. See, I really liked the Lucha Brothers versus the Best Friends, and John Stewart just appeared behind him, and especially the wee spot with the Best Friends and their little elbow bump, not quite being able to give the people what they want, but giving them the best they can.
Yeah, I get that. Well, I guess I had Finlay. Go away. No. Finlay, I'm recording a podcast.
You have to leave that in as well.
I told you this would happen. Right, I'm going to go for... I was NXT now. NXT was a bit strange this week. Obviously, it was just... you talk about the lost art of the vignette. They went to town on the vignettes this week. It was just a series of documentaries. So we had one on Gargano and Ciampa. We had one on Ripley. And we had the other one on... Oh my God, I can't even remember. Someone remind me what else. There was 3 of them. Oh, it's...
All I remember is literally Gargano Ciampa because it took up almost the entire
I skipped over it. I really liked... yeah.
I just want to let you suffer.
I really like... Yeah, thanks, mate. I really enjoyed the Ciampa Gargano one, I have to say, because it just shows you... I mean, I think it will go down probably in WWE history as one of the top rivalries in the WWE. There's not many I can remember in the last, certainly, 10 years that have, been up to that standard of rivalries. Maybe you could argue Orton Cena, potentially, but I don't know.
I think it's like one step above Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. I think it's took that up a notch. Yeah,
I agree. I keep harping on about it. I really hope it ends to Hell in the Cell between the two of them. I think that's the only way to end it. So
would you do it behind? Would you do it in a closed arena though?
No, I wouldn't. No, it's got to. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, I moved on to NXT UK. I thought I need to have something to talk about on this section of the show. So I sat down and I watched NXT UK, and I don't normally do, and I have to say I thoroughly bloody enjoyed it. Lot of things to put over it. Now, obviously,
I'm assuming it was all taped before you get into it, and this is all pre-taped stuff.
This is the last. Yeah, this is the last show with a crowd behind it, probably. But bloody, the Scottish guys are doing so well there. We're all biased up here, but I think they stand out above everybody else. Is it just me or that thinks that?
No, I 100% think that. I think I said to you as well when I went down to NXT UK Takeover Blackpool 2. The one takeaway I took was like Gallus were just incredible, and obviously Kaylee Ray and Piper Niven as well. And I think you should put over Alex's cat. I think that chuck everything else out.
Alex's cat. Alex's cat's arse has just turned up in front of the camera for people to listen to this on the podcast.
Snoop should have released a video version.
But yeah, I think that I thought the Noam Dar promo that he cut with A-Kid was. Yeah. Just brilliant, Noam. Just really, really good. And I think Gallus just looked brilliant on it. See, it's a 3-man team, and what they do is a 3-man team. You've got to put them up there as one of the best, factions in the business in the WWE today. I think.
I absolutely love them, man. I said that. I think Takeover Blackpool too. I think I'd have loved if Joe Coffey became champion, obviously. But they just looked like stars for the full thing. And even in the media thing before it, they were the standout for me. Again, I might be biased because I'm Glaswegian, but they were the standout for me. And I just think they are incredible. Even the little things, like they don't call themselves a faction, they call themselves a firm and stuff like that. I just they're just
the one thing I will say is I didn't like their kind of pre-promo at Takeover Blackpool. To me, they felt a little bit bland when they were just in that kind of pool hall. That's the weakest I've seen them. But apart from that, I completely agree.
Yeah. So that's been pretty much my put overs. Basically putting over the Scottish. Kaylee Ray and Piper as well. Look like they're going on into feud, which will be great as well. On to the buddies. Ridge Holland. Now, is everyone aware of Ridge Holland?
Yes.
Yeah. Peaky Blinders style gimmick. Big lad. He looks like a bear. He looks like someone that Vince would love. But oh my God, was that boy green? Really, there was, you could watch it and just went, oh, that wasn't meant to happen. Oh, that didn't look good. So I think he needs a bit of work. He looks like I tell you what, he looks like a beast, but I think he needs a wee bit of work on that. And this is the first time I've really seen Flash Morgan Webster. Now, I don't think he's always had this gimmick, but the Modfather gimmick.
Oh, he has had that gimmick since his first debut. Well, I've only known of him since he first debuted in NXT UK, and he was the Modfather.
One thing I can say, Edge has said that Flash Morgan Webster's his favourite NXT UK guy.
Really?
Yeah, Edge that's the one guy he picked out. I know I would disagree also, but
yeah, well, maybe it is. But
I think because it's NXT UK, we just factionize with everyone from our own country. Do you know?
Maybe
the Welsh love Lord Flash Morgan Webster, but we don't because he's not Scottish.
I just didn't get a gimmick. It was the same with Rich Holland as well. Actually, he had this kind of Peaky Blinders style gimmick, the long coat, the hat, carrying a club. And it's just like, let's look for British stereotype things and let's just force them into a gimmick in NXT UK. That's why the Modfar thing didn't get. But yeah, matching it. We have the Star. Who else was in there? Oh God, I do this every week and I can never remember who's in the matches. But yeah, the 6-man tag at the end was brilliant. So that's my match tonight. Let's move on to SmackDown then. Paul, you're still with us. Let's get your buddies and put overs, my friend.
I think the first thing you've got to bury is a contract signing. Has anything interesting ever happened at a contract signing?
No. Well,
shite.
Yeah. Who was signing the contract on SmackDown this week?
So the contract was between Goldberg and Roman Reigns, who, I mean, let's face it, Goldberg's only really got charisma when he's smashing somebody's head in, and it really was pretty poor. It was just dull, the same way these things always are. It always ends in a sort of face-off. The only thing it had going for it was the fact it didn't end up in that pathetic little tug-of-war that we had between Roman and Brock Lesnar the other year. It wasn't quite as bad as that.
Do you know what they should have had instead? They should have had a conference where they explained why it was Roman who got the title shot against him at WrestleMania, because that's not been explained yet, and it would have made more sense.
One other thing on the contract signings. Last week they had a contract signing between AJ Styles and Undertaker, and then they've now changed the stipulation. But I'm like, the contract was already void because you stuffed the contract in Carol Anderson's mouth as well. So it's not as if you can file that paperwork, but you need a full contract.
Well, maybe just wait a few days for it to come out. Who knows?
Yeah.
What's the other thing you're burying, my friend?
The other thing to bury is going to be, I don't understand why, if there's no fans there, you've got people working as though there are fans there. And the specific absolute worst for it was Otis in the heavy machinery match against Miz and John Morrison. He's constantly playing to the crowd. It's like there's nobody there. Who are you trying to pump up? What are you doing? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think that's why the AEW, having the wrestlers in for the AEW crowd and having just that noise actually worked,
And actually having matches on the card.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I appreciate they're having to try and do different things, and that's fine. And to be honest, one of the things I'm going to put over in a minute is one of the slightly different things they did try and do. But I do think just going out and trying to do what you were doing before in the exact same way as you were doing it before, it's not going to work.
Yeah, get that totally.
It looks like a WWE 2K20 glitch to me, I think. Just like pumping up the crowd, isn't it there?
And what are you putting over then, my friend?
I have to say, one of the things that sort of, it was a wee bit of a dull watch, but one of the things that I did notice and I would like to put over, it was very, very subtle, but I never picked up on before the fact that it's the Fink's voice that announces the Miz and Morrison's little talk show gimmick.
Oh, is it?
Aye, I was like, oh, that's quite good. And then the fact, and I'd probably put over the fact as well that when they were doing the impressions of the Usos in the New Day, they didn't use blackface. I would definitely compliment the Miz and John Morrison on that one, because there was a part of me thought, oh, that could go a bit funny, but no. And I don't understand, they just have... Oh, hang on. Sorry, my phone's just starting random apps here.
Welcome to podcasts in 2020.
Sorry. So no, I would also put over the fact they just happened to have a couple of baking costumes lying around the performance centre, because I'm assuming they've not just sent somebody out randomly shopping. Not entirely sure what happened with that. don't know. It's good that they're trying different things. I thought the way they did that whole talk show segment with the bits in the audience and what have you was actually quite good. And the Miz and John Morrison were fairly entertaining. So I guess I would put that over. And then match of the night, on paper, Drew Gulak and Daniel Bryan versus Cesaro and Nakamura is a great match. And it did deliver. I think those guys have developed a style of wrestling that really works quite well without a crowd, and I don't think they needed it. You had Sami Zayn screaming his head off in commentary just to provide a little bit of ambience, but actually it was a damn good match and it really suited what they were trying to do.
Cool. Thank you very much for that, Paul. I've not seen that. That match sounds like it should be absolute dynamite, and I bet it would be in front of a live audience, but I guess it's hard to judge when it's not in front of a live.
Well, what to do, John, is just get your kids around the TV and just have them scream and shout for your ambience.
It's a great idea. Gary, let's move on to Raw then. Buddies and putovers from this week.
Yep, so the berries, I was actually going to bury something I'm surprised Paul didn't bury, and it's Gronk. The replay of Gronk. I never need to see any Gronk stuff.
Fuck Gronk!
I'm going to yet again disqualify replays for my berries and putovers because I feel like it's not really fair to do it. So my berry is having an enhancement match. That makes no sense. Like Aleister Black looked like a star. The enhancement talent looked like a star. But it's not needed this close to WrestleMania. Surely you've got other talents you can get there. Like I've said that last week, they had a lot of talents there that they didn't use. It's the same this week because they're recording a lot of stuff over the next few days. There were talents there, but they used an enhancement talent. The other berry, and this kind of goes into one of my putovers, but I need to bury the referee from the tag team match because I don't know if any of you have seen what happened, but Andrade caught Cedric Alexander flush with a pretty bad reverse elbow, and Cedric definitely got hurt during it, and he fell. He tried to kind of crawl away. You could tell he wasn't quite where he thought he was. Andrade just pulled him over, covered him, said I think he knew that was game over. The referee counted the 3, but really slowly counted the 3rd count, and then looked at Cedric, counted the 3, and then realised something was wrong, counted a 4 count, and then called for the bell. And then Cedric kicked out at like the 4 count. It was the most weird thing ever. And again, like I do sympathise with the referee because he's knew what was going to happen. He knew that wasn't the end of the match, and I think he's hesitated. I don't know what I'd do in that situation, but referees are obviously meant to just call it as they see it. It was a 3 count, but it was just awkward. However, that goes into one of my putovers because everything apart from that in that match was absolutely incredible. It made me forget there wasn't a crowd there, much like a lot of the Daniel Bryan stuff on SmackDown has, just because the match was incredible. 2 teams that are thrown together. It was Ricochet and Cedric Alexander. I believe Cedric Alexander was a late replacement for Rey Mysterio because we've now found that Rey Mysterio is in quarantine. But I believe that he was a late replacement. They had a lot of tag team moves, and so did Garza and Andrade. And they're not tag teams, like they're people who haven't really worked together that much, but they put together an incredible tag team match. And the other putover, like it was said before, I think Paul said it, with trying something different always needs to be appreciated. On Raw, they changed the hard cam. They had the hard cam facing the stage, so that behind, from the very first segment, it was Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar, and behind them, what you could see was the ramp and the stage, and they put extra screens in either side of the stage, and then put extra lighting fixtures in where the old hard cam would be, and behind where the old hard cam would be. So they just made it look like there wasn't a crowd, but it made it look like they had empty chairs everywhere last couple of weeks. They didn't have the empty chairs in shot at all, and it just looked brilliant. Which again was what AEW did, and what Ring of Honor have been doing for a long time. But that I just thought it added so much to the actual show.
That's interesting. And I take it match tonight is the tag match then.
100% match tonight has to be the tag match. There was another tag match on the show, and then there was the Aleister Black squash match. But apart from that, if I could have put in the replay, I would have put in the triple threat match between Cena, Lesnar, and Rollins. But the tag match was incredible, so I'm putting that in. Has to be.
Fair play. Paul, listen, thank you very much for being our mark this week, mate.
No worries, it was a pleasure.
Absolutely, and keep listening to Wrestling Daft. Thank you very much.
See you later, guys.
Cheers,
Thanks,
Paul.
Paul. Thanks, Paul. Remember, you can get your Bryson putovers in for Rab and Grado for this week's Wrestling Daft. You can do that on our Twitter at Wrestling Daft, on Insta at Wrestling Daft Podcast, and it's just Wrestling Daft on Facebook. It's that point in the show where we get a little bit irate, a little bit mad, and we cut a promo on something on wrestling. And up this week to the mic, it's Mr. Alex McRoberts.
Okay, so this week, guys, I want to talk a little bit about WWE's championship belt situation. All right, so there's 18 champions, 5 of them are tag, so that means there's 23 champions on a roster of just under 150. So that means 15% of the roster are champions. 1 in 7. It just doesn't make any sense, does it? So the question I'm going to ask this week is why? Why do they need so many champions that they could literally field a football match and throw in the referee as well? It's mind-blowing. So let's start off with the Universal title. A belt so ugly, it literally was the first inanimate object to be booed in a stadium. So let's start up with the name. So, I mean, the Universal title, where world title makes sense because it's defended around the world. So where around the universe is this belt going to be defended? Is Elon Musk going to take it up to Mars with him and then go and fight some kind of galactic champion? No, that's not going to happen. Fucking rename it. The only good thing to happen to that belt the only good thing to happen to that belt recently was Goldberg to beat The Fiend, so we never have to see that disgusting excuse for a kid's toy belt ever again. I mean, say what you want about the big gold belt, but at least it looked like a World Heavyweight Championship, and it made sense. Then we have the 24/7 Championship, a washed-out bastardization of an iconic concept that looked like it took less time to put together than its namesake. I'm sorry, Mauro Rollo, but the belt looks worse than Mick Foley's ear. And we have the tag belts, perhaps WWE's most pointless championship. And for a company that doesn't actually care about tag team wrestling, having 5 is ever so slightly ironic. How about we just have a unification tournament so that we have 1 tag team champion, so they might actually get some screen time? Then we have the Cruiserweight belt, a belt that's been passed around more shows than Big Show's done heel turns. And now I'm not sure if it's on Raw, 205 Live, NXT. Is it even considered canon anymore? They've even managed to ruin NXT's titles and turn them into a big bland pile of mess ever since Austin Creed's little unsavory antics on them. We've all heard that Vince likes his championships to feel prestigious, like how he insists that they have the word title or championship. But a little bit of poor booking and some pre-marked design standards makes these things look more like toys than belts. So, if WWE, if you insist on having this many belts, then buck up, burn it down, and whoever made those UK belts, redesign the lot and fucking use them properly.
Here. Right, it's time to get up to date on what's been happening in the wrestling world with Gary Cassidy, and we're going to kick off with all the WrestleMania goings on.
Yep, so obviously a lot of news regarding WrestleMania. I mentioned it earlier, just after the 2-day announcement, I got sent a little DM saying that it was going to emanate from multiple locations. The first we've seen of that was last night with Undertaker and AJ Styles, apparently going to take place in a Boneyard match.
What even is that?
Yeah. Do we know what that is?
I'm going to assume it's a graveyard match. The first thing I thought was that scene in The Lion King that's got all the bones curving over them.
So what? Is the Undertaker's scar in this analogy?
Yeah.
Oh my God! It's a run from Simba.
But yeah, so I think that one's actually going to take place, and they've got a 3D green screen thing, and I can't remember if it's in the Performance Centre or if it's in Stamford, but they've got that somewhere.
They're going to ruin WrestleMania if they keep insisting on screen, because the people who do 3D graphics at WWE are horrific, as we see every pay-per-view. So please, no more. Just stop.
Yeah. So apart from that, the other 2 things that are heavily rumoured is Charlotte and Rhea Ripley apparently might be taking place for Full Sail, which would kind of make sense given the fact that it's the NXT Women's Championship they're fighting for. Another one, which is probably the most obvious one, is people think that The Fiend versus John Cena might take place somewhere in a gimmick match, probably the Firefly Funhouse, or maybe like a House of Horrors type match. You never know. But that's the kind of multiple locations thing. Again, They're recording WrestleMania this week, apparently, so we might find out more about that. I kind of hope we don't. I'd rather it was kept as a surprise. That's what 3 of the matches we've just mentioned there. There's a hell of a lot more. WWE just added one today, which was the heavily rumoured Elias Baron Corbin match, which Gronk advocated for because they couldn't make a match on SmackDown. 2 got added last night. There's a reason behind one of them. So one of them is Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley. I'm not going to try and give you a reason for that one. The one that I know the reason for is the Street Profits versus Andrade and Angel Garza. So this is for 2 reasons. Essentially, the Street Profits were meant to be taking on Authors of Pain, but one of them's injured. So that's just out the window. There's no way they're competing. And, of course, Rey Mysterio was meant to be involved, probably in a championship match with Andrade for the United States Championship, but he's now quarantined, as is Dana Brooke, who was in the 6-pack challenge. That's now a fatal 5-way elimination match. That one is for the SmackDown Women's Championship. That's Bayley, Sasha Banks, Lacey Evans, Naomi, and Tamina.
Could it not have been Tamina that needs to be quarantined instead of Dana Brooke? At least Dana Brooke can do a cool somersault in her entrance. What can Tamina do?
Again, everyone was asking why Carmella's not in that match. She is also in self-isolation with Corey Graves, which is why he's not been on television. But apart from that, there's the obvious ones that we know. There's Brock Lesnar. I just want to point out that Alex is doing some kind of victory dance right now, and also making gestures as to what Carmella and Corey Graves might be doing while self-isolating.
I wouldn't mind being in self-isolation with Carmella, I tell you that.
Let's just say Carmella's going to be off in 9 months' time for a little bit of holiday, shall we?
Yeah, the other matches, we've kind of mentioned most of them throughout the podcast. You've got the WWE Championship match between Brock Lesnar and Drew McIntyre. I'll go into my fantasy booking on that in a wee while. We've got Goldberg defending the Universal Championship against Roman Reigns. We've got Becky Lynch defending the Raw Women's Championship against Shayna Baszler. That one is rumoured to be main eventing one of the nights now. We'll see if that happens. Yeah, obviously I mentioned the Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. You've got The Fiend and John Cena. You've got The Undertaker and AJ Styles. The one that just got made official last night, but we all knew it was happening anyway, is Randy Orton versus Edge in a last man standing match. You've got Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins. You've got all the other ones that I mentioned, which I've just went to read them, but it's all the ones I've just mentioned. So that is your whack, as long as the other stuff doesn't get added in the next few days, which it probably could.
At least they've split it over 2 days now.
I know, my current count is 12 matches, I think we've got on the card.
Yeah, I think roughly about that. I think that looks about right.
Yeah.
12, 13 2 3-hour shows, 12, like half an hour a match, roughly. Yeah. I mean, you can take all the segments and stuff in between. That actually works out quite nicely.
I'm surprised they've not. I mean, I know you think it'll be, I mean, it might be Becky versus Shayna headline, but I thought they would have went for the obvious Brock and Drew one night and Goldberg Roman the next.
That's what I thought. The one thing I thought could throw a spanner in the works there was I thought they might put Orton Edge on, because I think putting Roman Goldberg on after something like Orton the Edge would be, I would always say disastrous, because there's no crowd there to boo it. So it's
that's true.
Wrong with it. But yeah, that was the weird one. I thought when I seen that Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler were possibly rumoured to be main event in one of the nights. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, Becky Lynch obviously has already main evented Mania and won. And it is kind of one of the few things that have got like a proper storyline behind it.
True.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I hope that if Drew McIntyre wins, then he main events. But if he doesn't, then who cares?
Yeah,
put it whatever.
Exactly. Oh well, we'll see how it goes. Matt Hardy obviously joined AEW officially, but I believe there's a clause in his contract that allows him to work elsewhere.
Yeah, so we've already seen this with obviously Chris Jericho and Jon Moxley have both worked in New Japan. Again, maybe Lance Archer might be continuing to work in New Japan, so it's not something that's uncommon. Jeff Cobb as well, of course. He's not exclusive to AEW. Matt Hardy was doing a wee Q&A on Twitter, and he got asked, or didn't really ask, someone said, I would have loved to have seen you in New Japan, and he kind of said, well, I'd love to do it, and I still can do it, my contract allows it. So he kind of put some feelers out there live on Twitter. Let's see if New Japan get back to him, but I would absolutely love it. I think he said that the one time he would love to compete there was at Wrestle Kingdom. Yeah, Matt Hardy's a big enough draw that of course everybody would love to see that. So yeah, I guess we'll see if it happens.
Look at Alex's little face light up. Look at him go. It is New Japan Wrestling. And
I think you'll find this is actually a Dragon Gate show, John. Not
sorry. And AEW is set to be, basically looks like it's going to be closed doors until May.
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned it there with WWE. They're recording a hell of a lot this week in terms of their future programming, not just WrestleMania. AEW already did a lot of that. Oddly, they're actually doing a double showing of Dark tonight. They're doing a double-length version of it, but they've apparently recorded a lot of shows. This week's one, pretty excitingly, is going to have Cody Rhodes on commentary. Maybe taking a leaf out of Triple H's book last week, but apparently they have an awful lot in the can from what they recorded last week after Dynamite, which I think is why I'd kind of put out that we didn't really know when the next episode was going to be, because they kept saying, whenever we see you again, we'll see you next time. They never mentioned it was live next week.
Yeah, it was next Dynamite, wasn't it? Not next week.
Yeah, they kept, they were kind of clever in the way they went about how they addressed future programming. From what we now know, it looks like they'll be putting on pre-recorded shows for the next while, which is probably a smart idea, because you don't know what will happen if America lock down the same way we have. Then, yeah, you're as well having this stuff in the can.
Yeah, and it also means, we'll get to still watch wrestling, and we get to see Alex's cat again in front of the webcam.
She just knows when there's a nice keyboard to walk on.
Yeah. But yeah, I think thank goodness for wrestling, because there's nothing else to watch at the moment. Do you think AEW will continue with having the wrestlers in the seats in the crowd?
I think they need
to. It's an odd one. Yeah, see, I said it last week where there's a couple of issues that throws up. They got away with like the journalistic integrity thing that I mentioned, because I mean they all portrayed their characters perfectly. They were all perfectly in character throughout. The one thing is, or two wee issues, they were sat kind of close to each other for my liking, given the social distancing thing. And also they had some people that were quite close to the age restriction there. That was another wee note. Jerry Lawler was off Raw this week for that reason. You had Jake the Snake Roberts and stuff sitting.
Jim Ross.
Maybe that's why Cody's going on commentary next week, because both Jim and Tony you'd think would be at risk, surely. I mean, probably even Taz by this stage.
Yeah, so I think that's probably why. So yeah, I think we will see some changes again, because it was pre-recorded. Those folk were on the building. We know they were in the building, but I guess we'll see. I'm interested to see if the commentary is going to be live or if they have overdubbed it. That's why Cody Rhodes is doing it. But yeah, I guess we'll see.
It's definitely one man with an underlying health condition is Jim Ross, that's for sure.
Don't even think it's that underlying when you've had half a smoke.
I don't think it is underlying. Thanks for the news this week, Gary.
No, thank you.
Aye. It's a bit of a shame at the moment, because Fantasy Booking Island, only Gary's allowed to go over to it because of self-isolation. So Gary, jump on that boat, get yourself over to Fantasy Booking Island right now, and there's no bog roll over there, by the way, at the moment, so just watch yourself. And there's only a couple of tins of beans left in Fantasy Booking Island. So get yourself on that boat, get over there, and tell us what you fantasy booking this week.
So yeah, obviously we're on quite a low place right now. So I'm going to start it in a low place and then hopefully take us to somewhere that is everyone's fantasy island, maybe just through my booking. You're probably all going to shut it down, but we'll see how it goes anyway. I believe I said last week that Drew McIntyre, I'd have no problem with him losing at WrestleMania if it leads to him winning the WWE Championship in front of a crowd somewhere down the line. So let us book that and slightly beyond that and see how it goes. But yeah, obviously he's competing at WrestleMania. That's the last point of the current Drew McIntyre trajectory that's scheduled. So we're going to say Drew McIntyre goes up against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. We won't do a squash match. That's a wee bit harsh, but we'll just say Brock Lesnar wins pretty emphatically. Drew McIntyre comes out of that realising that maybe he's been a wee bit too upbeat, pandered to the crowd a little bit too much. He doesn't turn heel, but he goes into that grey area where he's a bit more of a badass. He kind of wants to just beat up people, tear through the roster. He does that, gets his rematch against Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam in front of a massive crowd in a massive arena. He wins the WWE Championship at SummerSlam and becomes the first ever British WWE champion. From then on, we move Brock Lesnar to SmackDown to boost ratings. And then we have the next challenger, the next proper challenger for Drew McIntyre as Royal Rumble winner, Aleister Black. And Aleister Black, we'll see, is still pretty much undefeated at this moment. He's still going on his tear. He's still doing absolutely brilliantly. And we're building all the way to WrestleMania next year, where we have Aleister Black versus Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre essentially turns heel during WrestleMania to beat Aleister Black very unfairly. That leads to Aleister Black disappearing. He goes to SmackDown, where him and Brock Lesnar go into a program going into SummerSlam, but that's not the main part of it. The main part of it is, in that little middle bit, maybe the night after, say, Money in the Bank, if that is still the in-between pay-per-view, we get the announcement that SummerSlam next year, on the anniversary, the 30th anniversary of it, is going to be in the UK at Wembley. And Drew McIntyre will be celebrating 1 year as WWE Champion by defending his championship at SummerSlam as the first ever British champion to walk in to a major pay-per-view. Oh, sorry, it would be the first one because they've done it already at WrestleMania. But he's the first one to walk into a pay-per-view in the UK as champion. And his opponent, William Regal, comes out and announces your opponent, is this man. It's a returning Neville. It's not Pac for AEW, it is Neville, but he's back and he's better than ever. Drew McIntyre's like, oh, that's fine, he's a tiny guy, who cares about Neville? I can beat him with my eyes closed. Oh, that's not all. I've got some more news for you, William Regal says. And over the Titantron, over the PA we hear, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. And it's a triple threat in Wembley, first ever UK pay-per-view that WWE put on. We have the WWE Championship being defended by the Scottish Drew McIntyre against Neville from Newcastle and the other Englishman. Bad news, Barrett. And that's it. That's as far as I went.
Alex, I'm going to come to you first on this one.
But you see, I really like it, but there's one big sticking point for me, and that I can't have Neville anywhere near WWE ever again. I just can't allow it. It's not unacceptable. It's stopping me wanting to book it, to be honest. If you swap him out for, like, you should put some Welsh in there, swap him out for Flash Morgan Webster or something.
I like where you're going. I like this full program that you book, Gary, but I have to say I can't book it. I can't book it because I can't. I like the idea, but I just can't have bad news. Wade Barrett.
Yeah, you needed two different.
Come out of nowhere to be in the world title program. You just
man. I tried my best.
I mean, you could have used that year. You should have used that year to build up Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, and then there was your three-way.
I could have booked. I would have went on board with that.
I was about to say, if only there was another person to the UK that would have been a viable contender, but I had a year to book them up. Why did I not do it?
I actually thought you were going to go for until suddenly William Regal goes, and then suddenly here, life is a mystery.
Man, that would be amazing as well.
I thought it was going to be actually Regal. I'd have been up for that.
Well done,
let's switch at Ibrox Stadium and we'll have Grado versus McIntyre for the WWE Championship at Ibrox. There we go.
No, do it Parkhead. That'll be way better.
Okay, that's it for another Wrestling Daft, albeit appearances from children and cats. The Wrestling Daft marks. It's not the same quality as you would expect, but we are trying our best to get the content to you. My big thanks, as always, to Big Alex.
Thank you. And his cat. Don't forget the cat.
And his cat. And Gary, who's sat and necked about 2 beers since we've done this podcast.
And thank you. And I actually forgot that I had one honorary put over because friend of Wrestling Daft, Goshi, it's his birthday today.
Oh, Goshi.
He's 28. Yeah, he's having to stay in, obviously, on his birthday. I meant to put that in my put-overs, but hopefully he's listening to the end of the show, and then
no one listens to the end,
message.
Gary. No one listens to the end. I suspect Goshi did. Listen,
the other person we need to put over, one other fan, John. You need to put over a certain Neil who was on a couple of weeks ago. He's been starving out on Twitter for a wee put over. Yeah.
Neil Winston, who was on the mark, trying to put over, SmackDown and Bury. He got a couple of things wrong. But we're going to let him give him his moment. So thanks again, Neil, because he keeps tweeting us asking him to be thanked again. So thanks, Neil.
Give the man his due. Give the man his due.
I don't. I'll give the man his credit. Before we go, obviously, Rab and Grado back with the big show on Friday. Still trying to confirm guests, but Grado was trying to get Martin Kirby on for that one. So fingers crossed that happens. They'll be on Skype as well, so it'll be quite interesting to see how that goes. Already tested it with Grado today, and he's very excited because he feels.
Is it safe to do a video podcast from Grado's house? I mean,
I don't know, but he felt like, because he was wearing a headset with a microphone, he said like Jerry the King Lawler. So it was. So we'll see how that goes on Friday. They'll be doing the list of Wrestling Daft, of course. And this week we were asking, it was between your favourite WrestleMania moment or, as the Undertaker, it's his birthday this week, your favourite Undertaker moment, and it was the favourite Undertaker moment which won it. Any of you boys got a favourite Undertaker moment?
I can never look past him burying Paul Bearer in a vat of concrete.
That one's hard to beat. My one should have probably been retiring, in inverted quotes, when he left his hat in the ring. But I'm going to go for him, the good old crucifixion. That I don't think I'll be beaten, man. That's, the crucifixion has got to be up there for me.
Yeah, fair play. We'll get you your Undertaker best moments into Rab and Grado for Friday's show. We'll try and get them on. Before we go, we always like to say, sign up, subscribe, rate and review us on Apple. I've got a little review for us here, boys. Capitan Colombo gave us 4 stars for Wrestling Daft. There's a minus point here. Great when it's Rab and Grado. However, the marks are a poor imitation. Get in context.
So I like the way you're now bringing down your podcast rating.
Yeah. So we've brought down 1 star. We've brought it down from a 5-star review to a 4-star review. So there you go. So thank you very much, Capitan Combo, for your input. We'll take it on board. Thanks, boys. Stay safe, everybody out there. Make sure you get plenty of toilet roll. And if you do find somewhere selling mints, please let us know.
Stop leaving your house.
Stop leaving your house.
I hate to say this, but listen to Boris, guys. Listen to Boris.
No. Enjoy the wrestling week, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Audio Frontier.